Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, this is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, hi, how are you doing? How's it going? I hope it's going well. Today I want to talk about some Snapchats that Amberlynn has posted. She's been on like a little bit of a run on this Snapchat thing where she's just like seemingly has nothing better to do than just sit there and answer Snapchat questions, stories. I don't even know what you call it because honestly I don't have Snapchat anymore. But people send me stuff and I know that that's like what people have been talking about. So I figured I could address some of the things she said specifically about me on this little Snapchat moment. And before we get into that, I know that the world is in a state of chaos right now. Obviously my thoughts go out to all the people of the Ukraine. I feel like we're all feeling a little bit uneasy and nervous about that, and so if today is not the day for you to partake in a girl world drama situation type of deal, I 100% support that and definitely take time to care for yourself. But with that being said, I do want to talk about these Snapchat posts and things like that. I know she also posted a new vlog, and I don't know if y'all really want to see me react to that silliness, let me know and I can still do that as well. But this just felt like the more pressing issue that I wanted to talk about today. And with all honesty, I've mostly been ignoring her Snapchats where she was just like, oh, I don't like Zach, I don't think he's great, I don't enjoy him, I would block him, all of those things. I've mostly been ignoring it because like, I don't know, like she's allowed not to like me. That's fine. I wouldn't expect her to. That's chill. Whatever. Good for you, girl. Don't like me. That's fine. So yeah, there have been a lot of posts in like the past 24 to 48 hours. And by a lot, I mean it's like 3 or 4. But there have been posts in the past 24 to 48 hours that folks from my Twitch stream let me know about. And I did talk a little bit about the first one that we're going to talk about while we were on Twitch, literally just yesterday. But after I did that, there were more posts that came out and she had some stuff to say. And I thought it would be helpful to just give my thoughts on it all. So this first one, there's really 2 parts of it. There's like what the person who asked the question, which it's not really a question, but that's neither here nor there. There's the person that asked the question and then there's her response. So the person that asked the question said, not gonna lie, I feel like Zachary Michael was contributing to, complacent to, the vicious bullying you received in 2019 from Charlie Gold and Michael B. Petty. And then Amberlynn'S response was, I completely agree, and him making reaction videos about me and mocking the videos I make is still continuing the cycle. These people preach anti-bullying and spread mental health awareness, but they don't mind making video after video about me knowing damn well the kind of people watching. Fake. I don't know. I have a lot to say about those things, and so I hope my thoughts are appropriately organized so that you can follow along. But let me just be clear that I don't know that I think it's my responsibility to be inherently accountable for the things that other people do on the internet. Whether they're my friends, people perceive to be my friends, or just random strangers in general. Now, I certainly do, like just personally, as a personal value in my own life, I do believe in holding my friends accountable for things, right? But it's always weird to me that I get called on to hold people accountable. And a lot of times in the past, it's been people I have never even spoken to that are just perceived to be my friends. And in this case, I have been friendly with both Michael and Charlie. And I do understand where some of that's coming from for sure, 100%. And I also do believe, regardless of whether or not Michael and Charlie are my friends, that I have like mentioned them on my channel, or shouted them out on my channel, or in Michael's case, he's even participated in my channel before. So I understand the responsibility of holding somebody accountable that I gave a platform to. That's like a big reason I don't really often mention other reaction channels these days, because like I can't be responsible for what all these other people are saying or doing on the internet. Like I want to be responsible for what I, Zachary Michael, am putting onto my channel and what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, even if I say like, hey Charlie, hey Michael, I don't agree with the things you're saying or the way you said that particular thing, I don't agree with this or that, the other, which, to be clear, with both of them at different points I have done both privately and publicly. I've literally talked to Charlie Gold on the phone about things that like we disagreed on or agreed on or whoever, whatever. It's a thing that I do appreciate about Charlie is that she's willing to receive that feedback. But once she receives that feedback, it's up to her what she wants to do with it, right? So I have given them a platform. I have shouted them out. I would consider myself friends with both of them, and that's why I have publicly and privately had conversations with them about what I do and do not agree with and the way that they talk about it. But also, let's be clear, Michael hasn't posted a video since January 29th, 2020, okay? He has not posted this whole ass pandemic, okay? So at some point, folks, we've got to let the Michael B. Petty thing go. Not to say that, like, he didn't, like, if Amberlynn feels like he caused some kind of damage to her back in the day and she deserves some kind of apology or something like that, then, like, she's allowed to feel that way. But, like, quite truly, at this point, it's been 2 years, y'all. It's been 2 years since Michael posted anything on his YouTube channel. Yes, he does tweet, but he tweets about a lot of things, not just Amberlynn, Chantal, whoever, whatever. I see him tweet about a wide variety of things. I think the other thing that I find to be relevant here, okay, the other thing I find to be relevant is that Amberlynn is happy to continuously give free shout-outs to reaction channels all the time. Either in things like this, where she's constantly talking about us, referring to us, which is fine, she's allowed to talk about us, don't get me wrong there. I mean, I obviously spend a lot of time talking about her on my channel. I'm not saying she can't talk about us, but I'm saying she spends a lot of time giving free advertisement to all of these other reaction channels through things like Snapchat and Instagram Q&As, to even in her own videos, she has promoted Alex is Shook. She has shared compilation videos, which honestly, truly, if you really go out there, some compilations are like way more harsh and mean than like literally anything I've ever posted about Amberlynn, okay? And to be honest, I don't think I've ever posted anything incredibly mean about Amberlynn. I'm saying she promotes all of these other channels all the time. She was literally in Life of a Free Spirit's DMs the other day, and so it's just like, I don't know, this is gonna be relevant coming up because a whole lot of this is about how like I am bullying her by repeatedly making videos about her and discussing what's happening on her channel. And quite honestly, like, I don't understand where she draws the line of like what reaction channels are appropriate and what reaction channels aren't. And truly, if there's one thing I've learned about having some kind of like public platform on the internet is that if there's somebody that you are going to be frustrated with, you're tired of hearing what they have to say, you're tired of seeing what they say about you, you're tired of the comments they leave on your videos, the best way to deal with that is to simply ignore it. And so I've only ever found out that when you give things like that attention, it gives them attention. It makes more people go seek that kind of stuff out. So why she is equally so frustrated with us, but also like continuing to promote various channels like us, baffles me. But like I said, she also doesn't have to like me. That's not my expectation here. I'm just trying to understand her logic. In general, I don't compare myself to other reaction channels. I just don't think it's helpful. Like, very similar to how I don't understand why Amberlynn is constantly comparing herself to other YouTube channels. But she did compare us, okay? This was one of the Snapchat stories. She full on ranked us and compared us. I mean, not everybody. This is hardly the whole list of every reaction channel ever. But I do kind of wonder, like, what makes Alex is Shook a 8 out of 10 and me a 3 out of 10 when, and this is gonna come up later too, when Alex consistently makes all of his content about fat women. Like, that is almost exclusively, like, I think I saw that he did like a KFC vegan chicken nugget mukbang, and he has been posting about like Eugenia Cooney. But outside of those things, like, he very much largely is also doing the exact same kind of content I'm doing. And a lot of people in my comments who I trust the people that are talking in my comments and sharing in my comments, a lot of people often say, I only watch you and Alex because I think you're both very similar in the ways that you are kind, but you can have a little fun and be a little shady, you're compassionate. And so I'm just like, It's not adding up for me. Shit is not adding up for me, Amberlynn. It doesn't make sense to me. So, I don't know. For me, I just think, like, don't give us attention if you don't like us, if you don't like what we're doing, whoever, whatever, and or don't promote some people, not others. Like, it just, none of it makes sense, especially if your whole point is that making videos about you is equal to bullying and harassment and things like that. I also take issue with her talking about continuing the cycle. I honestly originally thought that she was talking about her own cycle here, you know, like the trademark cycle that has the graph and the diagram and the everything. And I honestly thought that that's what she was talking about here. And if that's the case, I don't know exactly how she's saying that I contribute to that. I would be curious to know more specific examples of what exactly I'm doing that is making her specifically cycle. I think that if that's the case, that she should probably evaluate what she needs to do to break that cycle and utilize mental health and things like that, mental health resources and things like that. But people in my Twitch chat, when I was talking about this yesterday, suggested that it could be like the cycle of bullying. And I don't know, potentially I guess it could be that as well. And perhaps that's what she also means by like contributing to her mental health and things like that. Because obviously if you are being bullied, it does impact your mental health. But in general, and this is something I've stuck by, I don't find general commentary on what she's doing on her YouTube channel to be bullying, okay? I don't believe that me talking about how ridiculous I think it is on how much money she spends, because that was pretty much the entirety of the last reaction I did, so that's the immediate example that comes to my mind. I don't think that that is like bullying. I think that that's just me watching your video and having an opinion. I'm not saying mean things about you. I'm not directing people to say mean things about you. I'm not doing the things that I would typically associate with bullying. And to be clear, I do think that Amberlynn probably does experience some level of bullying on the internet. Like, I do think that there are people that are probably ridiculously mean and rude for no good reason to Amberlynn on the internet. But I think what Amberlynn struggles with is differentiating that between just like all kinds of criticism. And maybe that's fair to some extent, right? Like if you're constantly seeing really hateful shit about yourself and people talking about the way you look and your body, and in the past, you know, she's said that people have told her to unalive herself and things like that. So I'm sure when you're seeing those things and then you also are seeing constructive criticism, feedback, etc. next to it, I'm sure it does all feel like bullying. I think bullying is also something that's intentional and something that is, you know, intended to harm and intimidate somebody. There's usually like a power dynamic there. And I just think that that's absent from this situation of me reacting to what is happening on what I feel like is like a TV show as opposed to anything else. Like, I feel like I'm turning on my TV and watching a TV show that just happens to be about Amberlynn's life. The only thing that I guess could be considered bullying is that one part of a lot of definitions of bullying is like this repetitive nature, right? Like you're continuously repeating a negative behavior towards another person. And I guess in that case, like I do post a lot of reactions, but like I said, I consider this like a TV show. I watch a lot of people on YouTube who cover things like Survivor and Big Brother, and they cover every single episode of those TV shows. That's not bullying, and I just feel like I'm covering, for the most part, the majority of the episodes of the Amberlynn Reid show. So I don't know, personally, bullying, I don't see it. I don't feel like that's anything I've ever done. She talks about how these channels or these people preach anti-bullying. That's never really also been a message on my channel. I mean, I've always said like you shouldn't be hateful or mean or rude to people. I've not had that platform on my channel. I think that I have had conversations a little less recently with Amberlynn, mostly with Chantal, but I've had a lot of conversations about various isms like racism, homophobia, etc., because those things are relevant and pertinent, and I think they're important. That's something that, you know, Amberlynn, who wants me to hold my friends accountable, who wants me to do stuff with Charlie Gold and Michael B. Petty, doesn't seem to afford to herself when it comes to holding her friend Chantal accountable. And that's really also the challenge of like expecting people to hold their friends accountable when you can't do that for yourself. Now, I do talk a lot about mental health on my channel because it's something that quite literally is at the precipice of my experience of living, okay? Like, I've literally been a depressed, anxious person for almost my entire life. And I do talk about my positive experiences with therapy, with medicine, with various like coping strategies, tools, and things I've learned through using those resources. It is something I'll continue to talk about because there's been a lot of times where Amberlynn has talked about it where she didn't have accurate information, where she was spreading misinformation about it, and where she wasn't herself trying to utilize those resources. And listen, she doesn't have to do anything, but it is frustrating to me as somebody who does care about those things to see her be so flippant about it. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like more recently, in more recent history, she may be pursuing those avenues for help and resources, and to that I say, good, great, and I hope they work out for you, and I wish you the best. The only other thing from this initial screenshot that I want to say is she said, knowing damn well the kind of people watching. And I feel like that is a weird thing to say when for the most part the people watching me are leaving lovely comments on my videos. I don't know what's happening. I don't read Amberlynn's comments really truly because I do think that they can be a cesspool of toxicity. But like for all intents and purposes on most of my videos, people aren't saying rude things about about the girls as a collective, you know? Like there are a handful of comments here and there that do happen, just like there are a handful of comments here and there where they talk about me being fat or me being gay or things like that. So I don't know. For me, I think that that's like pretty much what I would expect, because I expect that there's always going to be some troll out there saying something heinous, rude, or negative. And that doesn't make it right, but I'm just saying, like, for the most part, my comments are relatively positive. So I don't know who's watching Amberlynn's videos, but the people watching mine, I don't think are the ones that are leaving these hateful comments on her channel. And truly, in my experience, I think that most of the negative comments and the harsh comments and critiques come from people commenting on the behaviors of these people, particularly Chantal. I would say if I was like ranking the people who get the worst comments on my videos to the better comments, it's like Chantal, maybe Tammy Slayton, maybe Amberlynn. I think they could probably go back and forth. Amy Slayton gets glowing comments on everything, and the 1,000 Pound Besties generally so far are getting good comments on everything. So that is like a very specific example. It's one example of like how people aren't commenting on your weight. It's like about your behaviors, bestie. I don't know what else to say about it. Which kind of takes me into the next screenshots, which is Amberlynn saying that I'm fatphobic, which I don't know. I got a lot to say about that too, but let me read these screenshots for you first. The first one is, again, not a question, but somebody saying, Zachary Michael is fatphobic, only reacting to you, Chantal, 1,000 Pound Sisters for views, but says he doesn't shame anyone's appearances. And then her response was, kinda odd, isn't it? Where is the lie? Well, girl, Detective Zach is on the case, and I will let you know, baby girl. The second one was related to it. It says, Zachary Michael never talks about appearances, though. And then she says he doesn't have to. I don't understand why the only content he makes is about morbidly obese females. It's fucking odd. Which, again, I say, you love Alex is shook. You love Alex is shook, and that's all his content is, but that's neither here nor there. That's not really what I want to focus on. What I do want to focus on is I find it so interesting that one could say that I'm fatphobic simply because I have an interest in talking about the experiences of fat women on the internet. I don't know, I just think that that's interesting because for me, like I said, this is watching reality television, okay? I'm not out here to attack somebody in real life. Like, I'm watching a television program and I have the full awareness that like you are showing me curated shots of your life. You get to edit and present those to us however you want. So I'm commenting on a curated version of what your life is, and I would think you would agree because you often talk about how you're not showing us everything that you do in your life. And I talk about these shows the same way I talk about 1,000 Pound Sisters, 1,000 Pound Besties, Survivor, Big Brother, whoever, whatever. So this concept that like just merely talking about women who are fat makes me fat phobic is something that I feel like I actually truly have thought a lot about and have grappled with for a while, because I mean, Amberlynn'S not the first person to say this to me, quite truly, quite honestly. So if anything, this is giving me an opportunity to talk about something that I've thought a lot about. And honestly, I do believe that there are people who are fat phobic, who don't like fat people, who treat fat people differently, who just in general are fat phobic. Like, I think that those people do exist, and I think like what I've decided or what I've like reflected on and feel like is that the reason that people feel like me talking about fat women is inherently fat phobic is because they assume that the only way you could talk about a fat woman is in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? Like, they assume that because I'm talking about fat women, because of how fat women are so often talked about, they just assume that I'm talking about fat women in a negative way. But I think, I mean, if we're being honest here, you could probably find many examples on my channel where I talk about all of these people at one point or another in a positive way. I mean, literally, I got dragged because I said that I thought Chantal looked good bald. Like, dragged. People were so upset. And I frequently talk about the Slaytons in a positive way, to the extent that people have called me a Tammy Slayton apologist. And I'm loving every single one of the 1,000 Pound Besties. So, you know, it's weird to me that the assumption that me talking about fat women is inherently negative when I have so much love to give to a lot of these people. And quite honestly, that's how my interest in Amberlynn even started to begin with, is that I do appreciate fat women. I have so many fat women in my life, and I myself I've not been a woman, but I myself have been fat, have been called fat, have been discussed as fat in my life. And so that's why I took an interest in Amberlynn to begin with. I was on my own weight loss journey at the time, and I was looking for other people on weight loss journeys. I also think I kind of found her because I had just recently found out that mukbangs were a thing, and I believe one of the very first videos I watched of hers was like the hot Cheetos mukbang. So I also, you know, I found that too, and then I also found out that she was like on a weight loss journey, and that she was LGBTQIA plus inclusive, you know, family. And that's how I started watching her. I started watching her because I was related to her story, and I feel like a lot of people started watching her for that similar reason. At the same time, I found Amy Slayton and Tammy Slayton, and I watched a lot of videos by my friend Peter Mon on the subject, who inspired me to start making commentary about the girls, because he had made a few videos about the girls, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I did. And then Chantal only came into the picture because there were people who were saying, oh my god, Amberlynn is copying Chantal. And so I went and I reacted to one of her videos that Amberlynn was allegedly copying, and I reacted to it, and I was like, oh, I'm fascinated by this human. I'm gonna keep watching. And that's that. That is that. That's how I came to cover all of these girls. I didn't seek out fat people to just like criticize on the internet. I found them by seeking out people I related to, that I felt like I understood, people that I had some interest in. And a lot of people like to say like, oh, well, you wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for these girls. True. And there's a lot of people who say you wouldn't get the same views if you didn't have these girls, and I say kind of true. Yeah, kind of true, to the extent that like people signed up to come to my channel to hear my thoughts and opinions on these people, but also kind of not true, because like I did give up Chantal and Amberlynn for quite a few months, and my videos were doing just fine without them. So, you know, I think it's definitely true. I mean, I wouldn't be here without them, but also I just want to emphasize it is and it isn't because they're fat. Like, I relate to them because they're fat. I'm not strictly criticizing them about being fat. I talk so much about the like inherently problematic behavior, especially of Chantal. I mean, let's just be honest, she's the most problematic of anybody. When it comes to like Amy and Tammy and the 1,000 Pound Besties, I talk about how much I enjoy those shows. So it just is so weird that the automatic assumption is that I hate them or I feel some type of way about fat people. And honestly, truly, there's also been a lot of times where people have sent me fat YouTubers and said, you gotta react to this person. And I've realized that their intentions of that is just like, they want me to just react because the person's fat, not because the person is overly entertaining or the person is problematic or anything like that. It's just that they found a fat person on the internet and they think that like my gig is to just make fun of fat people. And that's not the case, and thus why I haven't reacted to those people on my channel. Either way, I do want to remain open to people who feel like I might be fat phobic and ways that I can change my channel or the things I'm doing over here. You know, I've been very receptive to change in the past and criticism. I mean, the second most popular video on this channel is me reacting to Amberlynn, reacting to her. And one of the criticisms I got because of that video was that I was ableist, and I talked about ways that I could change my language moving forward to be less ableist, even if that wasn't my intention, right? And so it is 100% possible that there are ways that I've been fat phobic without intending to be. And just because I wasn't intending to be that way doesn't mean that I shouldn't find some kind of ways to change my behavior, because obviously at the end of the day, my goal is not to like hurt anybody. I'm just out on the internet having a good time watching videos I enjoy watching and bringing you all along. So if Amberlynn wants to have that conversation, if she wants to share some like specific examples of things outside of just like these blanket statements, I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to consider what she has to say about it all, you know? Quite truly, whatever she would like to say to me, my DMs are open, girl. My email's open. I mean, at this point, I'm blocked on like everything, so I don't know exactly where we're gonna talk about it. But if you want to talk about it, let me know, and I will certainly take into consideration whatever feedback you have to say. But anyways, I hope all of that made sense. I don't know. I had a lot on my mind thinking about it all, so I hope it made sense. But anyways, that's all I have time for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did and it's your first time on my channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the bell button so you get notifications every single time I post a new video. Leave me a comment, hit like, click share, follow me on all my social media. Go check out my merch, buy something if you want to, and above all else, have a wonderful, lovely day. Bye!